everybody, it's Romania Black. I've redecorated, which is just in time as we have a two-parter for Natsume's Book of Friends, Season 6, Episodes 4 and 5 together. There are 2 weeks in Season 6 that the moderator Plore has told me that we are going to have to watch 2 episodes at once. I never complain when I'm told I have to watch 2 episodes of Natsume at once because they're usually a really good time. So we have episodes 4 and 5 this week, and then the season finale episodes 10 and 11 are going to be the others that we watch together. So I'm really excited. That's all I know is I'm supposed to watch them together. That's good enough for me. So anyway, I don't have any comments because I'm watching this as I'm coming back from my vacation. And so when I recorded this, I didn't have any comments because I didn't watch anything the week prior. So the mods are like, I don't have anything to tell you. So next week we'll be getting back into the comments and all that, I'm sure. But I want to thank everybody for their support this week. And while I was gone on my vacation, that really meant a lot to me. And I'm excited to dive in and see what we get. Also, I wanted to make sure everybody knew I was going to start looking at the manga after I watched next week's episode, which is episode 6. So we won't be talking about the manga and how it relates to season 5 until starting episode 7. But I did the math because I have volumes 13, 14, 15, and 16 to look at. I have 4 volumes to look at, which will so conveniently cover as we finish season 6. And then after season 6, I'll ask the moderators, like, what manga, are there any manga I can read that cover season 6 that I haven't already covered? Because apparently there's going to be a little overlap as I go into the OVAs. Because I know there are 2 OVAs that come after this season 6 episode set. And then after that, I don't know yet. The mods have a convenient list, black box spoiler tagged in our moderator thread where they tell me like the comments I can read and shouldn't read because of spoilers. But there is a pinned little section that tells me like the order to watch Natsume stuff in. But after season 6 OVAs, I don't know if there's any other specials I'm going to get into before season 7. I'm kind of wanting to relish this season because I really like it so far, but also because season 7 I'll be caught up, and that's a very weird place to be at. So yeah. We're not going to think about that. We're not going to think of the fact that a year and a half later I'll be caught up with Natsume's Book of Friends. We're not going to think about it. We're not going to worry about it. Although Madara is, you can't really see him. I'll try to get my hand to be in the right spot. Yes, right there. There's Madara. And I have the first 2 volumes of Natsume's Book of Friends that were sent to me by Plore right there. So Madara is always watching as we carry through this. I feel like he's our guardian spirit watching over us. But yeah, I have coffee poured. I woke up this morning. I don't have to go into work until later today, so I am a little dressed up for work, but I was like, I'll watch Natsume's Book of Friends before I go to work, and that'll put me in the best mood. So that's my plan. But yeah, I'm excited. I have no clue what we're about to get into, but these last 3 episodes have been really good. I've really enjoyed how season 6 has started. It started off on like a pretty emotional foot, but I'm like, well, we're 6 seasons in, so why not? But thank you all so much for your kind words and support. I appreciate it as always, but we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to get started with episode 4 and episode 5 of Natsume's Book of Friends season 6. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's do it to it. All right, make sure my subtitles are good on this. So what I will probably do, as always, is I will turn this down for a hot second, though. Ooh, don't want to blast my eardrums out. I will probably watch the OP for this episode, and then I will skip the ED this episode and go into it for the next one. I'll probably skip the OP in the next episode as well. So I will try to adjust the timer accordingly. I usually let the OP play though for the second episode, so I'll probably do that just so it doesn't throw the timer off, because that timer can be a little doozy. And then whether I talk about this episode or not, or go through both episodes, depends upon how urgent the cliffhanger is. So we'll just have to see. But I kind of like going back and talking about all the episodes as a whole afterwards, so we'll see. After many seasons of doing this, I've kind of tried to figure out my preferences. So it might be talking about both episodes together. We'll just have to wait and see. But yeah. This OP is really good though. And now the question is, what are we going to talk about today, Natsume? Ooh, starting out with the clock is usually ominous. Especially a grandfather clock. Very ominous. Where are we at? Where are we at? What is all this? Where are we at? Ooh. Oh, he is one of the exorcists, isn't he? Isn't he the one that was... Isn't he the one that's friends with Notori? Because he has the glasses? Lying eyes. Ooh, with glasses and everything? Come on, come on. Oh my god, we're gonna get a Tori episode set! Ah! Why are you what? Oh my god, Madara's like, please. Oh, it's a preview. Or is it? Right, yes. He can see it. Oh, I hadn't even thought of that. Wow. Wow. I think his relationship with them has changed over time. It wasn't a comedy. Oh my god. Well, shit. He's like, Madara has my solution. Let's go eat something while we wait for it to stop raining. Mm. 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 You should probably trust your gut intuition. Aw. Oh. Oh. Okay. Ooh. Well, shit. Oh, are you going to see something you're not supposed to see? He went ahead and got the waffle. Right. It's not your business. Of course Natsume would think that. Uh-huh. Can you ignore it? Uh-huh. Yeah, you should have bought an umbrella while you were at that 7-Eleven. Well, a perfect place for exorcists to meet. You should have bought it back at the 7-Eleven where he got the waffle thing. Right. Oh, it's her. We've seen her before. Isn't she the granddaughter? Oh. Isn't she related to the guy who has the glasses? Okay, good. Awesome. That Scottish fold cat. Oh my god, he does look like a Scottish fold. Yes. Okay, with the big heads. Yes. Nice. Nice. Nice comparison. Mistress. That means they're not related. Oh. Bringing home all the boys. See how it is. It's an exorcist house. Yes. Okay. I wonder if she has lots of umbrellas for guests when they come over to see The Exorcist. Ooh, does she know? She can sense it. Ooh, but she can sense spirits. A small pound bird carrying a 1 pound coconut? Hmm. Yeah, that would be creepy. Oh, okay. But she has her dad or uncle, whoever's sitting there. So isn't he, or is she or is she like, you can't ask your exorcist relative that lives in the same house as you? Is she trying to test to see if Natsume has any abilities? I don't know whether to trust her or not. Uh, well, or maybe her relative can't see the spirits without the glasses. Isn't that it? Aren't they kind of like a Jujutsu Kaisen character? Mmm. Yeah, I hope it's something not as suspicious or ominous. Oh. Well, of course Natsume would get on the roof. Ah, shit! Was this Fraggle Rock? Ah! Ah! No! Oh, well, crap! Oh, no! Oh! Oh! Ooh! Ooh! Oh! Oh, you would be there! You would be there! Ah! Shut up! Madara's face! Oh my god! He tried to put the moves on him and it failed because, of course, it failed for him. Of course, it failed. Mmm. This cat's so useless! Ah! Now, what about her hearing all of this? Are they not witnessing this going on? Ah. Ah! Mm. Oh. Could. Was. Oh, that's right. He lost the ability to see them. That's why he couldn't help her. Okay. Of course he did. You know that. Tsukiko. Okay. You beat me to it. Mm. Oh. 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 Oh, wow. I love her in the shadows as she's talking about this. She's afraid to mention it. Oh, wow. She kind of has the same thing Natsume has going on, but in a different way. Interesting. Mmm. This is so fascinating. I'm kind of so obsessed with this. Well, define rock. Just rock. I like he's honest. Ah. So we need to get rid of it. Mmm. Right. And they've come for revenge. He puts the glasses on, of course. Okay, cool. Right. But at the same time, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, where's your place in all of this? Mm. I like that both Madara and Natori are looking at him because they are on opposite sides of the spectrum in all of this. And Natsume's in the middle. Not making Madara do anything. Of course he will. Yeah, exactly. He's like, I know. Right. Oh. Oh. Right. I'm glad he's honest about that. I'm glad he's honest about that. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Ooh, I don't know if I'd do that. He'd probably tell you to stay away. Yeah, and Madara's like, be careful what you do. Ah. He probably wouldn't. Oh. Natsume's so nice, or Natori is so nice in this. She's like, bitch, yes, I work here. Oh, wow. There's like a little bit of a Tanma vibe there. Right. Yes, of course. Interesting. I wonder if the dad knows about Natsume's family. Meanwhile, Madara's ate everything. Oh my god. Made? Oh, bitch, no! Oh, shit! Oh, shit! The eyes should have been a giveaway! The eyes should have been a giveaway! Oh, bitch, are you kidding? Oh. Oh my god. No, 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 no. Oh, well, shit! Oh, shit. Oh. Oh, did he not hear or did he do? Oh! Oh! Oh my god, well, bitch. Oh. Okay. Did Madara not detect? Well, he did detect. I don't know. I think he heard, but I think he's just pretending he didn't. Oh. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. Look at you adulting, Natori. Uh-huh. Madara with one eye open. Right. Madara's like, please don't make a mistake. Yeah. Right. There's, oof. Ooh, that door closing. That door closing. Oh, man. Man, I love this. Hmm. Yeah, this is a problem. Oh, I'm sure. Oh. Ooh. Ooh. She's like, great, cool. And I didn't know what was going on. But that's literally what's happening. Hmm. Hmm. Oh, interesting. But, oh. Did he have a headache like Tanema does? Ooh. Hmm. Or maybe he could just sense the presence, right? But he just couldn't see anything. Could he still sense their presence? Oh. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Oh. Natsume's already ruined that. Mm. Oh my gosh. I like that she's just like, let's ditch this place. Hiragi's like, I don't agree, but you know, is that really true? Okay. Oh. Oh, okay. Is for him to die? Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, shit. Right, so that that'll happen faster. Is there no other way to do it than for the person to die? Oh. No. Well, shit, come on now. Oh, nice. Okay. Three familiars. Oh. Interesting. I like that we're hinting that we'll see the other two at some point, whether it's this episode, next, or not. Ooh, okay. Hmm. That makes sense with Natsume and Reiko. Exactly. Oh, you have no idea. You have no freaking idea. Let's split up, gang. I wonder if she can release them, though, even though. Hmm. Oh, in places that don't matter. Hmm. Maybe that clock is special and he doesn't want it broken. Hmm. Mm. Ah. Oh, right. Because that's why I thought she was there. Oh. So why would it want it destroyed? Oh. There's the other one. Oh, shit. Well, crap. Well, crap. Well, crap. Okay, fine. Fine. Be that way. Be that way. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna have to go to the next episode. Sorry. We're gonna have to start the next episode. So we're gonna skip the intro and go right into it, y'all. Go right into it at 1:28 and we're gonna do that here in 3, 2, 1. Let's jam. My God. Crap. Okay. All right. All right. All right. Oh. Is it into the clock? Are they trying to get into the clock? Or they're already in the house? The bound ones. Okay. All right. Mmm. Oh, he's like, well, shit, no. I think he punched him for good measure. Oh! Oh. 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 Was she the only one with an attachment? Oh. Ah, okay. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm not here to exercise you. I want to know what's going on. Yeah, start spilling. Hmm. Oh. Why does that matter? Hmm. Okay, so it wants to get inside the house. Uh-huh. Oh. So it's keeping her in and keeping them out? Oh. Oh. Interesting. Oh, shit! Well, ah! Tori cannot catch a break. Madara's face. I wonder if the talismans are put up for the hole so it can't make the hole bigger. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Mm. Okay. Hmm. Ah. Second year of high school. Okay. Uh-huh. Yeah, he had the bucket hat on then. Yes, his eyes in like stare. So he was about Natsume's age. Oh. Ah. Mmm. Book of boyfriends indeed. Oh, good. I'm glad he actually said that. He's like, don't be an exorcist. Ah. Mm. Ooh, I love it. I love it. Ah, yep. Right. I mean, how could they be? All right. That's such a great shot. I love that. I like the idea of Notori wanting to. I like the idea of Notori wanting to keep people normal and not bring them into the exorcist clans, whereas Matoba is the polar opposite and wants to have as many exorcists as possible. It's interesting. I like the eyes and the mouths there. Yeah, do they really hate Takuma, or are they trying to get in because they want to be his familiars as well? Oh shit, and he's back. Oh. Were they trying to get to him? Oh. Oh. Yeah, why are you here? Why are you in my house? I like her. She has a very distinct personality about all this. Ooh. If he says Natsume. Why is Madara eating more food? Gonna eat you out of house and home, girl. I didn't like it. Ooh. With the Madeline. Oh my god, Madeline's everywhere. Oh, Kunin-san. Ah, here we go. Ooh. Okay. Oh, I like that shot. Mmm. Hmm. Right. Ooh. Mmm. Interesting. Yeah, no, he's like, I don't want you to get hurt. Mmm. Interesting. There's so much to talk about. Right. Yes. Okay. Well, yes. Ah. Okay. Mm. Hey, Natsume. Can they not hear Madara talking or notice it? Because Tanuma notices it. I love this. Oh, I love that. The sheets. Oh. Okay. Okay. Natsume's the middleman. Ah. Oh. Oh. Oh, okay. Well, Natsume's like, I am special, and the protagonist of this series. Right. Ooh. That's a forbidden technique, and he knows that. Ooh. Right. He's gonna be like, yeah, those are forbidden. Mmm. Oh. Yeah, okay. Right. Madara's like, let's get on with it. Well, shit. Hmm. Because of the talismans? Come on. Tell us. Aww. 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 She's such a sweetheart. Aww. Aww. She's such a sweetheart. Aww. And neither of them can see her standing there. That's so sad. Oh, she's such a tsundere! Such a tsundere! A tsundere spirit. Oh, it's like a little bird person. What? That one is ridiculous. Oh, she put up the talismans. Oh, yes. The little pig! Did she say girl yokai? Oh, the familiars. Oh. Mm. Ah. Mm. Mm. But they don't want it to think it's her fault. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Oh, I love it. I love it. Oh. Natsume, you're just breaking in all the barriers here. Oh, okay. He's like, you being able to do it is interesting. Oh. Okay. It won't break. Okay. Oh, well, shit. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. Okay. Madara, you fiend. Hmm. Mm. Is it me or is there a height difference not as much as it used to be? Oh. 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 They would have already. Yeah, exactly. He can't hear them. Oh. Oh. Oh, no, he didn't. It was the daughter. Oh. No. Oh. Mm. Oh, wow. And it's just trying to prove itself so that he'll include it back in again. Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. It's like all the stages of grief at once. You're not gonna make me cry, are you? Oh my god. No. Oh my gosh. Oh. Oh wow, that is a lot of blood. Oh. This like Benihimo, this little bird woman. Oh. 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 Okay. Mm. Oh. Oh. But the one stayed. She stayed. Of course he does. What should I do? He's like, well, it sounds just like you. Uh huh. Uh huh. You have. Aw. Aw. Oh. She stayed in the house. Oh. You're not going to make me cry, episode. You're not going to do it. Oh. Oh. Because those were to see them. Right, right. Ugh. Ugh. Oh. Oh. Oh, yep. Oh my God. How do they not know? Oh. Oh, I was afraid of that. Oh, I was afraid of that. Ah! 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 Oh, Notori, don't take it away. No, you don't understand. Ah! Natsume's the person that should have it. It's his grandmother's. Just leave him alone. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. Ugh. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Oh, man. How did Reiko get the Book of Friends is a very appropriate question. How did she end up with such a device? Did she make it? Did she inherit it? How did she stumble across such a thing? Was it given to her? That's such a good question. Oh my God. Glad I didn't wear makeup today. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. All these two-parters. These Notori episodes, I tell you. Every time we get a two-parter of Natsume's Book of Friends, it's so freaking good. It's so freaking good. And I'm sorry. It's so hard for me to pick, but I honestly think the Notori episodes are some of my favorites. I always get a huge, exciting wave of just the best vibes whenever we get Notori episodes because I just love Notori. Notori is such a great character. He's kind of like he's sort of a dark Natsume, honestly. He has a lot of similarities with Natsume. His background is similar to Natsume's. And then he's kind of just like, he's what Natsume would be like if he'd gone astray. And what makes his character so fun is that he sort of represents, and he kind of knows it, he's kind of self-aware. He doesn't know Natsume's background as much as we, the audience, does, but he knows it to an extent where you can tell he feels that if Natsume doesn't do certain things, he may end up like Notori, and he doesn't want Natsume to end up like Notori. Now, I can't tell if this series is framing it to where Notori's going to steal the damn Book of Friends, because, like, no, or if it's going to be one of those moments where Notori thinks that he needs to find out about the Book of Friends and that he needs to take it away, but then he's going to decide that Natsume is the only one that deserves to have the Book of Friends. That just makes me nervous, because we're entering... My fear is that we're getting close to season 7, and I'm like, if season 7 doesn't come back to this plot point, or if we don't come back to this plot point by the end of this season, I'm going to be like, oh, I'm going to have to wait to find out what the end results of this plot line happening in the background are. That's not fair. Oh, and this episode made me cry, made me tear up. I was like, I was refusing to let myself be full of tears because I knew if I started crying and thinking about it too hard, I wasn't going to be able to talk. And so when we get to that point, I'll tell you why I thought that way. But I don't know. My thing is, how does Hiragi and them not know about the Book of Friends? How do they not know? But then again, they weren't around when Jinro or Gino was having that conversation. So they didn't hear everything that the yokai said. So we'll give them the benefit of the doubt on that. But I'm like, if they find out, is Hiragi going to tell Natsume that Notori is trying to find out? Because Hiragi seems to have the biggest bond with Natsume of all three of them. Are they even allowed to do that? This series making me worried about where that's going. So we got to see a little bit more of Takuma. Takuma who sounds a lot like Tanuma. Takuma who can no longer see yokai, which in itself is such a symbolic character, because we had the episode where Natsume temporarily lost his ability to see Madara, and that was an emotional wreck of an episode. So here you have a character that is literally representing what it would be like if Natsume could no longer see the yokai anymore, or if Notori could no longer see them. It definitely represents more of if Notori could no longer see them, but it's interesting. There's also the fact that the daughter put up all of these talismans in random places. That was one of my favorite plot points of the episode set, was the callback, the setup and payoff of that plot point, because Madara's like, why are there all these random talismans? They're in places that don't matter. Why are they here? And we, the audience, are wondering the whole episode, like, is there something with the grandfather clock that's important? We know that the talismans by the hole, that kind of makes sense to keep the yokai from coming in, even if they couldn't come in regardless. But it sets up all of these questions of like, well, why is that? And the payoff of it being like, oh, the daughter put them out, but she couldn't see, so she didn't know what she was doing. It's like, oh, like, it's just such a good setup and payoffs in this episode set. Really good set of episodes. This is my favorite so far of the season. Good setup and payoffs. Really good. And we're near the halfway point, so it makes sense. But yeah. So him leaving the glasses behind, like he leaves the glasses case there. The episode being called Lying Eyes, and he wears the glasses, they're fake. And knowing that Tori wears the fake glasses in his honor, as he's an exorcist, it's like his difference. It's like the opposite of Clark Kent. Clark Kent wears the glasses when he's Clark Kent the reporter, and then he takes them off when he's Superman. Notori does the opposite, where he puts the glasses on when he's the exorcist and has them off when he's the actor. I love it. Also, the fact that Natsume went to go see Notori's movie. Look, y'all know I am a future Natsume and Notori shipper. I really am. If it was future, like 5-6 years in the future, I'd be like, okay, Natsume and Notori, I'm 100% shipping you two together. Right now, no, Natsume's too young. And the one reason why I'm okay with the Notori and Natsume dynamic right now is because Notori knows that Natsume is too young, and he holds himself back. He does a good job. Like when he comes by, he's like, he tries to have this like pseudo smooth moment, and it backfires. Also, I think the show knows that Notori likes Natsume, and the show gives Notori the hardest time and makes things the worst in that regard for Notori, because it should, right? But this is Natsume's book of boyfriends, right? So I love Madara also gives Notori the hardest time too. It kind of reminds me, again, I think of Madara kind of like Natsume's grandfather, whether he really is or not. And I think that Madara's like the disapproving grandfather, being like, you're not good enough for my grandson. Like that kind of vibe around Notori, which is great. Also, this is practically like I'm watching Cherry Magic, which is a BL, the same time I'm watching this series. All of the girls swooning over Notori and Natsume being the only one that's like, he's okay, is just like, it's Adachi and Kurosawa vibes. And if you know, go watch Cherry Magic if you want to see the BL version of this. So I'm just like, this could be a BL. It really could. I know it's not technically, but it practically is the book of boyfriends, right? And he's like, I do agree with Natsume when he talks about it's distracting when you know somebody on the screen. I had a coworker who published some of their own like short stories, and then they had their class read the short stories, which I have a lot of ethical problems with, but that's a whole nother story. But it's one of those things like, if you read a story written by somebody and there's some dark parts to it, it's like, if you didn't know the person, it'd be okay. But when you know the person, it's a little bit distracting. And it's like, is that okay? Is that fine? So I get where Natsume is coming from. Also, the fact that you can see the gecko on the screen, but Natsume is the only one that sees is so intriguing. The gecko on Notori is probably one of my most favorite mysteries of this series, because we don't exactly know why it's attached itself to Notori, why it's a part of him. We don't know. We know that Notori is aware of it. We know that Natsume is aware of it. It's interesting. It also is one of those things where, like, Notori would almost... I wonder if Notori's like, if I ever get with somebody, they don't need to be able to see the gecko, because would that be distracting? You know, I'm in the gutter right now, but if you were having sex with Notori and you could see that gecko the whole time, it'd be like a third party member watching you, and you'd be like, shoo. But maybe there's fan fiction that explores that concept. I don't know. I'm just thinking in the gutter right now. But I love the lady on screen. She's just like swooning in his arms. And she's probably swooning for real, because Notori is a very handsome character. Notori is definitely my type of character on screen, where he's like, the criminal's already in my hands. And it's like, but Natsume is not even focused on that. He's distracted by the damn lizard. Yeah. He probably hates the yokai. The thing about it is, does Notori hate the yokai? We've talked about this before, that at the beginning, I think he did. But as he's gotten Hiragi and his familiars with him, as time has gone on, I don't think Notori hates the yokai as much. And I think a lot of that is attributed to him being around Natsume, and Natsume being as like a mediator between the yokai and humans. I think that it's one of those scenarios where, in like Matoba's case, when you're around people all the time that hate it, it's very much, I don't want to necessarily say that this isn't a one-for-one comparison, but if you are around a group of people that hate another group of people all the time, you kind of get assimilated into that same mindset, whether you realize it or not. And you have to step outside of that mindset and be around more open-minded people to realize that maybe that prejudice and hatred is not coming from a place of correctness. So it's kind of a kind of vague comparison here, where Notori has been around exorcists who, when you talk about how bad the yokai are and you're dealing with the worst of the worst yokai all the time, you start to get in that mindset of, yeah, it's totally okay if we enslave these yokai, and it's totally fine if we exorcise these yokai, because they're all bad. But then when he's around Natsume, who's like, well, actually not all of these yokai are bad. And it's, you know, kind of like humans, where humans can be just as evil too. And it is starting to change Notori's perception, whether Notori realizes it or not, because he's around a more open-minded person. And it's like, well, if Matoba was around, I don't know. If Matoba was around Natsume enough, would he change his mind? That's a very good question. I don't know. So with the whole Book of Friends being stolen, yes, Matoba would certainly be the worst person to get his hands on it. Absolutely. But maybe will Notori realize in time that Natsume is the best person to have this? Natsume is like an anti-Eren Yeager. And that's all I can say about that if you've not watched Attack on Titan. But if you've watched Attack on Titan, Natsume is the anti-Eren Yeager. Natsume is the one we want to have this power, because he is the best person to have it. Notori questions at the end of this episode said, should someone as gentle as Natsume be the one to have an all-powerful item like this? Yes, because Natsume does know the responsibility of it. Also, it's his grandma's, so it's kind of inherited. So don't take something that's, you know, inherited. And maybe once Notori finds out that it was his grandmother's book, his mindset will change a little bit if it's a family heirloom. If Notori doesn't think that, I honestly, in a strange twist of fate, could see Natsume arguing his right to have the Book of Friends to Matoba by being like, it's my birthright, it's my inherited item. And Matoba, who has such a strong sense of family and such a strong sense of our clan, this is our bloodline, our blood right, in a strange twist of fate, it would kind of be amazing if Notori was like, Natsume doesn't need the Book of Friends, but Matoba's like, no, let him keep it. It's his family heirloom. Blood is thicker than water. Let him have it. And Notori's like, what? Like, that would be... Also, I could see Matoba doing that just to spite Notori out of just sheer, like, flirting. So, you know, because Matoba and Notori are clearly a pseudo-ship as well. So, yeah, I would be amazed. It would be amazing if we got that kind of subversion of our expectations, because we would think Matoba would be the one that would want to take the book from Natsume. But if it turns out Notori tries to take it, Matoba's like, no, let him have it. Then that'd be so cool. But whether we get that this season or next season, I don't know. So we'll have to wait and see. And don't spoil me. We'll see if it comes. But honestly, Sensei being like, that was so funny. And Natsume's like, that movie wasn't a comedy. And he's like, well, it sure wasn't intentionally hilarious to me. Genius. Such shade. Such shade. The guy's always got a weird aura around him. Now, whenever it starts to rain, Madara does the thing that I would do under any of these circumstances, and that is go inside and eat something. Go get a coffee, go hang out in a cafe. Like, why would you walk in the rain? Walking in the rain is one of my least favorite things. But of course, Natsume's like, but look, there's a paper doll. It has a date and time on it. And of course, Natsume always assumes that someone could be in trouble. And like, what if we ignore it and have regrets when Notori's like dead in a ditch somewhere? We've got to go check out this meeting place and see if he's okay. I love it. So we get to meet Tsukiko. I love Tsukiko. She is super. Also, the place with the shrine that they walk past seems like it's from the OP. So that's kind of cool. Like this. But yeah. So Tsukiko being Sukama's name. We'll get his name here in a second. His name is too close to Tanuma. So I'm like, is it Takuma? We'll get it here in a minute. It's very similar to Tanuma and it was throwing me off. But yeah, Tsukiko, she's adorable. I love her. I love her a lot. She is really cool. She has a Tanuma vibe to her where she can't see spirits, but she has like a deep connection of wanting to help. And that's very similar. I feel like her putting the talismans around the house kind of lends to Notori's warning about people that get involved with exorcist level items that don't know how to use them. So when he talks about the forbidden techniques with Natsume and it relates to Tanuma and Taki, I feel like what Notori was getting at as the problematic elements of that is what Tsukiko actually did. Because what he was suggesting in episodes past, back in season 5, was that if these people who aren't trained exorcists get a hold of exorcist items and don't know how to use them properly, they will cause more harm than good. And that's why some techniques are forbidden, etc. In this case, in this episode set, Tsukiko gets her hands on some talismans, but doesn't know how to properly use them. And because she keeps the other two familiars out, it causes them to kind of go crazy from being separated. And then it causes all of this trouble that happens in this episode set. So it kind of lends to why Notori told Natsume about these items being dangerous. And unless you've had the exorcism training to use them, they could cause more harm than good. Which relates to what he's saying about the Book of Friends and Natsume having it. But we all know Natsume is strong enough and knowledgeable enough and knows the techniques that he's not in the same boat as Taki and Tanuma. So that's a whole different thing. So, you know, what can we do? But Tsukiko is so nice. She's like, I have a bunch of umbrellas at my house, which if you were the home of someone that was an exorcist that had lots of guests all the time, that's why you would have all the extra umbrellas, just in case. Her description of Madara as a Scottish fold cat is the best in this series so far. I was like, that's it. That's exactly what he is. Yes, it is. I was like, that's such a great description. A Scottish fold cat. They like have huge heads and little tiny ears. They're basically, if you didn't view Madara as a lucky cat, that would be what they are. So she's like, let me get you a towel. And when she said, I'm back, and Jinro says, Mistress, you can't just make so much commotion, I really thought she was a maid. I thought she was there. That blew my mind. We were like, ah, damn it. All these old ladies being yokai, I should know by now. But the way she interacted, I was like, oh, that seems so natural. Fooled me up until the moment we found out. I was like, damn, that was just, the illusion was there. And she's like, I'll wipe him down, they can go home. And Madara says his house doesn't feel right. Now, I was like, Madara, you're getting a little rusty in your skills. You didn't detect that was a yokai right off the bat. But Madara, I can understand why Madara didn't immediately recognize, because the yokai being there, the yokai following around the house, the talismans, the fact that Takuma had spiritual energy surrounding him, even though he couldn't see yokai. Everything was just this cocktail that was probably confusing Madara. So I'll give him a pass on it, right? But he is getting a little soft. So yeah. Also, one thing about this episode too, and maybe it's just an inconsistency, or like, did they all not how'd she not notice Madara talking, but even though Tanama can? But I don't know. Maybe it's just, a little trick of the episode, whatever. Maybe she's not actually in the space in the manga when he's talking. Who knows? But yeah, so she keeps hearing these sounds on the roof. I really like the fact that she was wanting Notori and someone to check it while her dad was away because she didn't want her dad to feel bad or feel obligated to do something and be powerless. Like that spoke to me and spoke to my heart so much that she didn't want to put her dad through that emotional stress of being powerless and not able to do something, because having grown up around him being an exorcist, she understands what that would be like for suddenly your life shift to change. And I got emotional watching because, when as your parents age, they slowly become unable to do some of the things they did when they were younger. And I know for me, I'm only in my 30s, but I know I can't do things now that I could do when I was 5 years younger. And it's so frustrating. And that powerlessness is so frustrating. So seeing your parents age, you understand that sense of powerlessness that they feel as well. And so it was really emotional to see her trying not to get her dad involved, to get him worked up, because she knows that would be hard for him not to be able to do what he could do before, right? That's such a relatable feeling, even though it's something supernatural in this episode, right? Also, the little rocks with faces on them reminded me of Heaven Official's Blessing, and if you know, you know. They also remind me of Fraggle Rock and Labyrinth, so there's that. Of course, Notori shows up, catches Natsume when he gets thrown off the rooftop, sparkles, roses. It's like Ouran High School Host Club meets Revolutionary Girl Utena, him being there, and then immediately he starts coughing as soon as and I love Madara being smooth. Madara's face as Notori goofs up his flirtatious opening is just priceless. Madara's serves you right. Get it together, Notori. But yeah. And then we have the three familiars. I love that we have Hiragi. Urahime is the one with the grudge eyes and the grudge hair. And then there is the last one, Sasago. Sasago, she's such a card. I want to see more of Sasago because she has a very distinct viewpoint about us. Hiragi is the most sensitive because Natsume saved her. She understands. She's seen him connect with the yokai and the humans and the exorcist. Urahime seems like she's basically Switzerland. She doesn't care either way. She's neutral party. Sasago's can we go now? I don't like that kid. He's bad news. Let's leave. She has a very distinct viewpoint and I like it. Also, she's bullheaded, which she has the horns coming out, which maybe it's more like a ram. Either way, maybe she's an Aries. But yeah. She's this cat's so useless, you should get rid of him. I love it. I love Sasago's point of view. She just has such a great perspective. Also, when Madara's fighting Sasago, I guess she doesn't notice it because she can't see yokai. But then did she just see Madara fighting the air like a cat? Who knows? But yes. So Takuma is the exorcist that influenced Notori, so Notori has a very close personal tie. Look, book of boyfriends, book of ships. This whole series is just a fleet of ships you can go off of. You have, if you want to ship Notori with Natsume, you can ship Notori with Natsume. If you want to ship Notori with Matoba, you can ship Notori with Matoba. If you want to ship Notori with his familiar Hiragi, you can do that as well. If you want to ship Notori with Tsukiko and have him marry his mentor's daughter, you can do that too. I was thinking that in this episode. I was I could see if you wanted to end up Natsume with Tanama or someone else, and you didn't want, and the whole angsty ex vibe, former friends to lovers to enemies vibes of Notori and Matoba ain't floating your boat. If you want to have a heterosexual ship with Notori, then Tsukiko's probably the way to go. It would make sense. And he could be the exorcist that helps protect the family household. And she knows, anytime it's very convenient to ship someone that knows the way the world works for the characters with those characters, because they won't be surprised. I mean, what I'm saying is you could ship Natsume or Notori with Tsukiko. I would probably think it's more Tsukiko with Notori because of their history, and it would work because she wouldn't be not knowing of any of the secrets. She knows how the world works, so it's not going to be a surprise to her, which is fun. But yeah, so of course Notori's you came because you were worried about me, huh? I feel like one thing is Notori worries about Natsume's safety, and I'm sure he will worry about it when he finds out about the Book of Friends, because Natsume is so caring. And so, one thing though that I wish Notori would understand is that Natsume has changed a little bit since season 5. He is a little bit more wary, but Natsume's weaknesses are his weaknesses. So, even though Natsume is more wary, and even though he's not as trusting of the Exorcist for sure, if someone he knows and loves is in danger, that's a weakness, and that's something that's going to be very easy to exploit. So if Natsume thinks that Notori is someone he cares about, and he'll go to him if he ever thinks he's in trouble, that could be exploited. If the Fujiwaras are in trouble, that could be exploited. Tanama and Taki, that could be exploited. So Natsume has a lot of really sensitive support triggers around him that Notori is kind of privy to, and Notori is probably thinking Natsume is gentle. He's not able to make really harsh decisions yet, and he probably doesn't want Natsume to have to make those really harsh decisions. He just wants Natsume to be a normal person. Notori should know that's not possible because Natsume can see yokai. That's not possible. So that leads to a whole discussion of, well, where does the Book of Friends come into all of this? What do we do? I love when Tsukiko is in the shadows talking about, you have Natsume and Notori in the sunlight, which these are two that are able to see yokai and are able to interact with them. They have the power in this situation. Her being in the shadows is so symbolic of her being this presence that's trying to protect her dad, but she's powerless. And so I love the theme of her trying to do good, but she's in the shadows, which shows that she feels guilty about making him go away to see the play while she solves the problem, and makes her feel bad that she's keeping her father in the dark and that she's in the dark herself. Like, the symbolism of that scene, top notch symbolism. This series gets it, and it does it so subtly, and it's just so damn good, and I just love it. But she's worried about the yokai coming here to get revenge. And honestly, that relates Tsukiko a lot to Natsume in this moment, because again, you have Tsukiko who's keeping her father, in the dark about what she knows because she wants to protect him and knows some of these yokai are probably trying to hurt them. You can relate to that to Natsume, who keeps the Fujiwaras in the dark because he wants to protect them from yokai that might try to hurt them. But the irony is, the Fujiwaras kind of know, at least Toko does, kind of knows what's going on, and Takuma kind of knows what's going on. So there's a lot of relation between Natsume and Tsukiko in this moment. And it's really cool that the show doesn't hold up a neon sign saying, here are symbolic comparisons, but they put them out there for you to see. And it's just like, you feel so smart watching Natsume because you're like, oh yeah, I'm putting this together and then connecting all the dots here. And it makes you feel good watching. I love it. And then I like that we have two moments of one person trying to protect the other person and the other person stepping in and going, no. So Natsume, because he doesn't know Tsukiko very well, and he doesn't want to make her worried even more than she already is, when she asks about the rocks on the ceiling, he says, oh, well, it's fine. And then Notori, though, goes, no, actually, it's the work of a yokai. We need you to know because we're going to probably have to work on this and it's going to be a thing. Cut to, in the next episode, when Takuma is like, whenever the yokai tells Natsume that she doesn't want Takuma to know what's going on, at first, she's like, be quiet, and Notori's going to go along with it, but Natsume's like, no, he needs to know the truth because we need this to make this all work. So it was a nice moment where we see both Natsume and Notori kind of flip-flop roles when it comes to sharing the secrets. But with Notori, it was related to a human. With Natsume, it was related to a yokai, which fits so well for each of them. Again, this series, it does it so good. Yes. So, and of course, when we were talking about Takuma, Notori has to adjust the glasses. Now, Natsume is a naturally curious person, as we've seen with him in the yokai. He wants to learn more about the yokai and what's going on, and he can't help but be nosy with the situation. But he also knows, he's like, the more I've dealt with these exorcists, the more that I felt that as I'm the one who has the Book of Friends, it's, you know, I should stay away from The Exorcist. And it's like, it was only a matter of time. I'm surprised it's taken 6 seasons for Notori to get super close to learning about the Book of Friends. I'm surprised it's taken this long, but it has. Like, you've tried your best, Natsume, but Notori's going to find out. Unless the exorcists choose not to tell him, but can they do that? And Madara, I feel like Madara has always known that it's only been a matter of time, given Natsume's personality, but Madara is trusting of Natsume, and he's like, look, I'm going to trust that you are going to be able to take care of this, and I'll work to help you, but, you know, this is a lesson. I can't see Madara letting the Book of Friends get out of Natsume's possession without getting it back. I can't see that happening. So I don't know what we're going to do about that when we cross that bridge, but I'm going to be very curious to see how all that goes down. So yeah, again, this season makes Madara look the most adorable at all times. Madara closes his eyes for some conversations and keeps them open in others. When he gets really excited and really vengeful, his eyes like glow yellow, like in his giant form. But there are times where he closes his eyes and times where he opens one eye, like he's maybe closing himself off from the conversation in some parts because he doesn't feel the need to be involved. But in others, he's like, I'm watching you to make sure that I know what's going on. It's interesting. If you watch this episode set, there's parts where Madara keeps his eyes closed, and then there's parts where he's intentionally watching, like, to see what's going to happen. And so Notori's like, you know, there's no reason for you to help me. And he's like, I think it's not because you're an exorcist, but because of you, Notori-san. I'm worried about you as a friend. Like, Natsume could not have said anything better to Notori. Notori is like, oh, you're helping me as a friend. Okay. Like, I'm like, easy, Notori. Easy, Notori. And Natsume is like, yeah, and I want to learn about the yokai a little bit. But he's been debating this entire time. What would I do if I told Notori about the Book of Friends? And Madara, in this point, every time Natsume is thinking about the Book of Friends, Madara is looking at him. Like, okay. And whether or not Madara can understand what Natsume is thinking or not, we have to guess as the audience. But Natsume is like, the Book of Friends controls yokai and puts their lives in their owner's hands. Would he smile and tell me it's a treasure like Taki did? Or, I don't know. Taki, because Taki doesn't understand the world of exorcists, tells Natsume that it's a treasure. But Taki doesn't know the dangers that book possesses. Taki is viewing it as the family heirloom. Notori, because he doesn't know that it's a family heirloom, would view it as something that's just dangerous for Natsume to have. Now, Notori doesn't know the full story. The problem with Notori is, as we've seen demonstrated in the past, until Notori knows the full story, he sometimes doesn't make good judgments. So we have to be careful about that. But again, I'm like, what's going to happen? But yeah, the whole deal with that maid and the fact that Notori and Natsume could see her, and then Madara being like, well, shit, I let him go out with her. Well, crap, that's no good. And then we find out that she's one of the familiars. I'm like, you can't trust old ladies in this show. You just can't trust them, right? And she kept looking like, she looked like Dorothy Spornak from the Golden Girls. Is that weird? Is that weird to say? She was kind of a tsundere. She was a tsundere yokai, which a lot of yokai are tsunderes. But she was tsundere. She was sarcastic. She had a big nose. She kind of reminded me of Dorothy Spornak from Golden Girls. And I was like, oh no. That's all I could think about this entire time. But of course, she has not an attachment to the house necessarily, but to Takuma. And she didn't want to leave his side. And we'll talk about the other two, but she says, you're the famous Natsume of the Book of Friends. That's all she said. That's all she said. You're the famous Natsume of the Book of Friends. And luckily, but the thing is, that's all Notori heard. So he didn't hear about Reiko. He didn't hear about what the Book of Friends does. He just knows there's Natsume in the Book of Friends. That's all he knows. Now, again, I'm so nervous about what the show is going to do with this plot line. I'm so nervous because it's always been Natsume is able to just dodge the question, but there's going to come a time where it's not going to happen. Now, of course, whenever Notori is like, I don't want to know, you've clearly not told me for a reason, so it's fine. I was like, okay. It made me feel better about Notori. I'm like, you don't want to get in Natsume's business. You're like, whenever you're ready to tell me, Natsume, you'll tell me. But then as soon as Natsume leaves, he's like, Hiragi, go investigate. I'm like, Notori, you're going to seem untrustworthy. If you think that you've got Natsume's trust, and if Natsume finds out you're doing shit behind his back, he's not going to trust you anymore. What are you doing? So I'm like, Notori, stop. And I feel like at some point there's going to have to be some give and take. Because Natsume's like, the Book of Friend controls the lives of the yokai within it. And he's like, just like they once said, its very existence should be kept concealed from humanity. And again, Madara has that eye on Natsume, like, Natsume, what are you going to do? I'm trusting you too. So there's a big web of trust around this Book of Friends. Madara's like, don't sell out your fellow yokai that are in that book because it could hurt them. And Notori has talked about the idea that the Book of Friends, you could kill a yokai through it if you just ripped all the pages up instead of freeing them. There's so much danger and trust surrounding that book. And it's been this very delicate existence, this whole series. But I'm like, are we going to make this messed up show? And this show makes me so concerned. It felt to me like telling Notori about it simply because... and then again... Notori and Natsume talking about how gentle each other are. He's like, if I could, Notori-san is gentle. Me telling him about it, because of his gentle nature, would be a betrayal of the yokai. Like, if I tell him about the Book of Friends just because I think he's gentle and trustworthy, am I betraying the yokai? Because that could backfire. And for some reason... it felt like because of Notori's gentle nature, that's the reason I shouldn't tell him. Yeah, like because Notori is gentle, he'll want to do what he thinks is the best thing for Natsume, which would be taking the book away. And I'm like, this book has been like the savior of Natsume this whole time, but also the bane of his existence. And it's like Notori getting involved. Notori has good intentions. No good deed goes unpunished. I don't know about those good intentions. I'm like, it just makes me nervous. So they're debating on what to do about the yokai. They either need to seal the house, get out the yokai, or exorcise them. And they're debating about what to do. And that's when they're trying to figure out. And Notori says he thinks he's seen the female yokai before. And she's like, well, my dad didn't talk about his work. I don't know the details. But he quit being an exorcist after he stopped being able to see them. And you can hear him saying, please return to where you belong. He was covering his face and whispering. I wonder if he could, even though he couldn't sense the yokai, he couldn't see them, I wonder if he could still sense their presence somewhat, and he just wanted them to go away because he knew that he couldn't see them anymore and he didn't want them to worry about him. There's been so many episodes so far in this series that have connected to the concept of yokai being able to and not being able to see humans and what that does to them. Like in the one episode where the one yokai could see Taki and she couldn't see him, it feels like this was a callback to that episode because we saw him telling Natsume, he's like, look, I can't see her. I can see her, but she can't see me. And if I stay here, that's going to drive me crazy. And then in this episode with the one Jinbei, we see that he goes crazy because he can't see Takuma. Because he can see Takuma and Takuma can't see him. It does drive him crazy because there's not that interaction anymore. And so I love that this series brings up a concept and then says, well, what if this happened? And then we see it happening in a later episode in a different scenario. It's so well done. And I'm like, yes. So she's like, I'm wondering about this yokai. Is this the problem? Yeah, what's interesting is the yokai, like the three familiars, they can't fully, like, the idea that the yokai can hide themselves from each other is really interesting to me. Because, like, the two familiars hide themselves from Notorious familiars, which is interesting. I love Sasago. She's like, this is hurry up. This is a mess. That boy brings up such a mess. Nothing good happens when our master gets involved with that kid. And I wonder if that mentality of Sasago will be one of the reasons maybe why they can keep the Book of Secrets, the Book of Friends a secret from Notori, because they'll be like, if we get Notori involved with it, it's not gonna be good. I feel like Madara would be like, "Be gone, thought," and tell Notori to leave if the Book of Friends gets involved. I don't know. I'm so nervous about it. But yeah, so talk about Takuma and the fact they can't perform the release ritual. Now Notori later on, whenever Natsume is determined to be the one that can do it, Notori says, well, if anything happens, I can always step in. I'm like, then why didn't you volunteer to begin with to do the release ritual? Why didn't you do that? But again, maybe it was just his involvement, or maybe it was because the one yokai didn't trust him. I mean, there's probably a number of reasons, but I was like, Notori, you could have made this simpler if you'd just done it from the beginning. So they talk about the fastest way for a familiar contract to be broken is for the person who made the contract to die. Most contracts end with the death of their master, which we've talked about. Madara sticking with Natsume until he dies. It's an unwritten contract, but they kind of have one, right? And it's like, what's interesting is with the Book of Friends, Reiko's died, but the contracts are still there. They're just tied to Natsume now because he's a blood relative. So that's interesting. That kind of, Notori says most contracts end when the person who made them die, and then they talk about how Tsukiko isn't strong enough to undo the contracts. But here, Natsume is kind of a contradiction, and the Book of Friends is kind of a contradiction, which is why it's probably a forbidden object, because it overrides what most contracts are bound to, so that's dangerous. Whoever owns the book has the contract. That's a scary concept. Whereas most contracts are just bound to the person who makes them. So it makes me also very curious as to how Natsume Reiko got her hands on the Book of Friends. Who gave her the Book of Friends? How did she find it? How did she get a hold of it? That is a huge mystery of like, how did Reiko get the Book of Friends to begin with? Because I don't think she made it herself. So what do we do with that? So this episode's opened up more questions, and without opening up questions, it makes you think about it, and you're like, well, wait a minute. How did she get a hold of that Book of Friends? We don't know, but now I'm wondering. So yeah. So in any case, they decide they need to figure out what to do with the familiars and how to do it, which the familiars are such an interesting concept because they are essentially slaves to the exorcists, which in itself is a concept. And even though there are good slave owners that treat their slaves fine and well and dandy and love them, it's still a concept of slavery, and it's still weird. But these yokai do form an attachment with Takuma, and Takuma does want to free them because they're not working with each other. And you can make the argument that it's different than other forms of slavery because the exorcists are gaining the help of yokai, but the yokai are doing it involuntarily. They may be treated well, but although I think you could argue Hiragi at least chooses to work for and be with Notori, so it is a little bit different. Madara chooses to work with Natsume even though they have no contract at all. So there are exceptions to the rules, but it is curious with Takuma that he developed these bonds with these yokai, even though it's basically the humans developing bonds with yokai. They just don't want to admit it. So they're going to label it something else. But it's a complicated concept for sure. And so Natsume's like, you shouldn't make careless promises, And he's like, was I hitting close to home? I feel like Notori's right on the edge of figuring out what the Book of Friends is, and he just doesn't want to make Natsume feel nervous, but he's really close to it, because, yeah, the Book of Friends, you're enlisting yokai to help you, you should know what you're doing. I kept thinking that there was going to be more of a connection with the grandfather clock. I kept thinking the grandfather clock would have more to do with it, but you could also look at the grandfather clock as a symbolism of time, that Jinro stays behind until Takuma dies just to stay in the house and serve him until he's gone. And the grandfather clock is that symbol of there's only so much time that a human has, and the yokai are aware of that. That made me sad too. That made me really sad in this episode. I was like, oh, But then we cut to episode 5, the Bound Ones, which are essentially what yokai that make contracts are until their humans die. Now, one thing I am curious about as this series moves forward is Is the fact of losing your ability to see yokai, is it something that happens to everyone or only certain humans? Did Reiko lose her ability to see yokai and that was tied to her death? We don't know. Do all exorcists lose the ability to see yokai and that's tied to their deaths? We don't know. We have no idea. So again, mysteries the show is bringing up. Jinbei in this, Jinbei with the moon face and everything, that yokai broke my heart. Broke my heart when we got to the ritual release. But both of them were like vampires. They were trying to get into the house. They couldn't because of the talismans. Jinro is like, why are you interfering? And Natsume's like, it's kind of my business. It's kind of my deal. My MO is to mess in the affairs of others. You know, I got that protagonist syndrome. And Madara's like, yeah, she was probably stuck in here. She was the most loyal and was probably stuck in here before the talismans were put up. But yeah. And then poor Notori sneaks behind Natsume, which he should know by now not to do that. And ends up getting headbutted by Natsume, as one would. I love Madara. Whenever Madara has a reaction to Tori showing up and doing something terrible, it's hilarious. Right? But yeah, they search around the house about the talismans, about trying to figure out what to do with the yokai. And that's when Natsume asks Notori how he knows Takuma. And so Notori catches Natsume up to speed on half of the previous episode from season 5. He lets Natsume know that when he was a second year in high school, that's when he first met the exorcists and got involved. He doesn't tell Natsume that that's the same time he met Matoba. He doesn't tell Natsume about him and Matoba's connection, but that's a story for another day. But at least Natsume is kind of up to speed on part of Notori's past. Part of it, right? When I was getting started, he helped me out a lot. Before that, I would just go through stuff in the storeroom at our house. So Natsume is like, you know, you and I have a lot in common, whether we realize it or not. I liked seeing you in that movie, but when I see you doing that stuff, I really get worried. And he's like, sorry, that's not my place to say. And he's like, no, I get it. He's like, at this point, given how crazy you are, I'd be, you know, if you became an exorcist, I'd be so worried my heart would burst. I'm at least glad Notori said that. Notori does not want Natsume to be an exorcist because he knows how dangerous it is. He also, you know, cares about Natsume as a friend enough that he doesn't want that to happen. But he wants Natsume to be normal. And Madara, again, when Natsume has his hand on Natsume's shoulders, Natsume naturally puts his, you know, his hand over. He involuntarily puts his hand on the Book of Friends, which Madara is watching. Madara knows that Notori probably knows as well, because we don't get to see the reflection of Notori's glasses in that moment, in the reflection of the glass. So we don't know if Notori is watching Natsume put his hand on the Book of Friends or if he's looking at Natsume. How dare this show? How dare it? How dare he? So yeah, so Takuma is trying to live a normal life with Tsukiko. But the thing is, and the thing that Notori is thinking, he wants Natsume to live this normal life, but Natsume can see the yokai. So Natsume is not going to live a normal life like Takuma is trying to because he's connected to the yokai. It's just not going to happen. And I love the framing of the two of them in the hole in the wall. That framing, there's some framing shots in this episode that I'm probably gonna be taking tons of screenshots of and sharing in the Discord that are so good. So good. But he's like, anyone who tries to interfere with someone trying to live a normal life is gonna have to deal with me. I kind of love that because I talked about it in the reaction that we have Notori, who the people he cares about, he wants them to stay away from the exorcists and live a normal life and not get involved with the yokai or the exorcists. And he's trying to push people away from exorcism. Meanwhile, you have Matoba, who's trying to enlist more exorcists to be part of his clan, to be part of the, you know, the resistance against the yokai. So again, friends to enemies to lovers with Matoba and Notori. They're doing different things. It's poetic how opposite it is, right? So like you and Sensei go back to Tsukiko. Also, I like that there is still a little bit of height difference between Notori and Natsume, but it's not as much as I think it used to be. So yeah, so they go back in, and that's when Takuma meets Natsume. And Takuma has honestly the best reaction out of anyone that's stumbled across Natsume in his house before. He's like, who are you and why are you in my home? Just, Takuma has the very human appropriate reaction to that scenario. I think that's hilarious. He's like, I'm not telling you, you failure of an exorcist. So the one yokai did not want to tell Notori about the ritual release because she doesn't view him as worthy or strong enough to be able to do it. But she does view Natsume to be strong enough to do it. And I'm like, Notori, you talked about Natsume being gentle and, not needing to have such a thing like the Book of Friends, but you literally just had a yokai say that Natsume is stronger than you. So are we going to just pretend that didn't happen? Okay, cool. But yeah, and I like Sasago. Sasago may be a little bit of like a blunt bitch, but she's also like, don't let that rude yokai bother you. You're totally cool, Notori. Love her. And he's like, that's not what's bothering me. So yeah, I like that Tsukiko's like, Dad, he's my guest. Meanwhile, Madara's just eating them out of house and home. And as someone that's watched Psychopaths and knows about the obsession of Madeleines, I love that Madara's just walking around with a Madeline in his mouth. Love it. Also, the dad's like, I didn't like the play, so I came home. Quit sending me to shit shows, daughter. What are you doing behind my back? And she's like, what? And then Notori shows up. I love it. I love the gang's all here. And he's like, old familiars. And then they get everybody up to speed on what's going on. And so Takuma is like, what do you think I should do? He's like, well, if they seem dangerous, then I don't think this is going to stop unless you either seal them or exorcise them. Even though I'm the one at fault for getting rid of them after I couldn't see them anymore. He's like, I like that the dad, Takuma's like, should I really, seal or exorcise these familiars when it's my own fault that they're here? And now Notori's like, that sucks, but are you going to involve your family in your own fate if you don't? He's like, you may have regrets sealing them or exorcising them, but if you do nothing and they end up dying, what are you going to think then? Like, Notori has a pretty good point with that, but what Notori does not consider is the third option, which is to just release them. He was, instead of letting them free, he was going to make them even more prisoners or kill them without even considering the third option that is given to Natsume. And that's a pretty big deal to me. I feel like that's a pretty important to point out, is that Notori doesn't consider the third option and Natsume has to be the one to bring it up. He's like, I don't want you to have regrets I don't want to have regrets if something happens to you. So Notori is saying, being like, look, I know that you value your familiars, but you should also value your family who's in danger, and I value you, so that just is an extension of that. And Natsume's like, oh. Natsume realizing, Notori cares about Takuma and wants Takuma to be safe. And in that moment, Natsume sees how Notori is similar to Natsume. He's like, oh, you're willing to do things because you don't want them to get hurt, just like I'm willing to do things because I don't want the people around me to get hurt. Oh, okay, cool. But then that's when the other yokai, when Natsume confronts the other yokai and is like, hey, let's ask you what you think. Again, Notori wasn't considering the third option, that maybe there's a way to save them without destroying them or making them even more prisoners. Natsume is the one that goes to the yokai and says, you heard what we're debating on doing. Do you have any other suggestions? Because maybe there's a way to do this that doesn't involve anybody getting hurt. And that's when the ritual release is brought up. And maybe Notori didn't bring that up because Notori did not think that he was strong enough to do it, or was told he wasn't strong enough to do it, so it didn't cross his mind. And maybe since he views Natsume as such a gentle young soul, he didn't realize that Natsume is actually pretty freaking strong and could do it. We don't know. He's like, I don't want to make Notori or Takuma exercise or seal you away. Can you help me? And I like that Jino is like, ugh. She's like, when you look at me like that, when I talk to you, I remember just how Takuma was. And he would look at me with those same eyes and that same expression and everything. And I like the fact that the idea that because she kept around him, she was able to remember him as he was to them before, and she didn't go crazy like the other two had. She's like, I was going to just handle them myself. but you could probably help too. I liked the framing of the white sheets and everything. Like, it was very ethereal and ghostly. It made for a good setup. But he's like I told you, Natsume, those spells are forbidden. He's like, because he's like, is there a way to let people see familiars and yokais? He's like, no. And then some of the most dangerous can even curse people who aren't involved. And if you bind their real name, even your normal speech becomes words that they must obey. And there are cruel spells that allow you to crush their name and take their life, which is the Book of Friends, essentially, because on the talismans, they say it's their false names. It doesn't say that they're real names. They're just binding them there, but it doesn't make them do what you want. So, lots of things being discussed with The Exorcist. The Exorcist world and the world building in this series is so fascinating. I love it. But yeah, Madara's like, we need to do something. And so that's when they decide to put a plan of action into play. The reason they can't come aside is because the mistress put up all the talismans. Can we talk about the designs? Jinro is old lady yokai. We've seen that design before. It's very effective. The one yokai, this mangaka loves to combine a Labubu with No Face from Spirited Away. It's like No Face from Spirited Away, but it's like a fuzzy yeti on the body. And that yokai design is used consistently throughout this series. And it's really funny. It's very generic, but it's funny. And then Bird Woman, who has the tiniest little chicken human legs, but then like a bird body and then a human face with the hair. It's a design that's also been used in this series, but it's just so kooky. I love this mangaka using like bird imagery with the yokai, which them being spirits, free spirits for the most part, kind of all makes sense. But yeah, so they talk about what they need to do. And again, the yokai does not want, she's worried about Takuma. She doesn't want him to know about what's going on. And Natsume's like, no, you need to know, which is ironic coming from Natsume to be like, oh no, Takuma, you need to know what's going on. And I'm like, oh, but the Fujiwaras can't know. Okay. Which I know why Natsume believes the things that he does about them. And I think he feels Takuma can know what's going on because he was someone that could at one time see yokai and interact with them as an exorcist. So it's fair that he knows. And if Natsume or Notori were in the same position, they would want to know too. It's just kind of ironic given that he wants to keep things secret from everybody else, but it all makes sense. It's just kind of funny that way. And Tsukiko is trying her best to protect you, and the yokai are trying to protect this home. The yokai outside have reasons for doing what they're doing. I like that Natsume is just so smart. He just words it perfectly how it needs to be said. He's like, here's what's going on. Here's what we need to do. What's our plan of action? And get stuff done. The scary thing is Natsume would probably be an effective exorcist, but he's too into the yokai camp for it to really be what the exorcist would want him to be. So yeah, and then it's sealed in blood. You just draw a magic circle. It seems simple, but I'm like, if your circle's too weak, the talisman's not going to break and it's not going to work. And you could be in danger. And if one of the yokai leaves the circle, they could be destroyed. So it's a process. But yeah. So he's like, if the yokai tries to leave the circle before the talisman breaks, I'm going to eat him. I don't care if you complain or not. He's like, they're not going to endanger anybody here. He's like, so you better get this right. And Notori's like, well, I'll have my familiars around me, and if I think it's even a little dangerous, I'll take over breaking the talismans. I'm like, you couldn't do that to begin with, sir? But anyway, so this part here, where Jinbei comes and tries to talk to Takuma, is the saddest thing in this episode. It is the saddest thing. It is heartbreaking. And he's like, and Takuma's right. If they'd wanted to hurt him before, they would have done it when he was coming home from the movie. That's the thing, is from the start of this episode set, when the two were trying to get into the house, I'm like, they're trying to get into the house to see him again. Not to necessarily hurt him, even though they have been warped and twisted, and they might become super frustrated once they realize he can't see them anymore, and that might lead them to be violent. But they initially weren't trying to harm him. They were just mad he wasn't letting them in, and they were viewing the fact that they weren't letting him in as a sign he didn't want them anymore, but he was still keeping them trapped there, and he was trying to harm them, which is literally like most of the yokai at the start of this series who kept trying to aggravate Natsume, being like, Reiko wouldn't let us go. She doesn't care about us anymore. And it's like, no, that's not the case. There's a big miscommunication. And I was getting emotional watching this because it to me was like relating to like if someone has Alzheimer's or dementia, because I've had friends that have talked about this with family lately, and we've had these conversations about if a family member has dementia and they notice you less and less of what's going on. And it's just like the fact that Takuma couldn't see. Takuma is in his right mind. He has full capacity, full range of his thoughts and emotions and everything. He's in a sound mind. But the representation of him not being able to see the yokai anymore was giving me like when you're trying to reach someone and they just don't see or hear you or recognize you anymore, and how terrifying that is. And the fact that in this moment, the yokai goes through like the 5 stages of grief in this one moment. Like they go through bargaining, being like, well, we'll destroy your house if you don't see us and talk to us again, to like bargaining, to anger, to denial, being like, it's fine, right? Everything can go back to the way it was, right? To sadness. And then acceptance is the ritual release. That's them choosing to be freed because they can no longer be with him. But this one yokai, Jinbei, goes through the whole 5 stages of grief in this moment. And it's the saddest thing because Notori and Natsume know that Takuma can't see or hear any of this. And they can. And oh, it was painful. It was really painful to watch and super sad. And it just, it gives you an idea of, I wonder if Natsume was connecting to when Madara, because they're all silent. Like Notori and Natsume just watch in just sad silence. The other yokai, they watch in sad silence. Like it's just, and Takuma can't. And the fact that they're all just looking at them silently, that Takuma probably has an idea in his mind of what's going on, but he's not going to say anything. It broke my heart, and I literally was about to cry. That scene of him just, trying to plead in front of Takuma. And Natsume was getting affected like the rest of us, and that's when Notori was like, hey, I like that Notori puts his hand on Natsume's shoulder being like, hey, if this is too much. Here's the thing. Notori is so protective of Natsume that I think he underestimates Natsume's growth quite a bit. I think he doesn't realize how much Natsume's grown over the course of these 6 seasons. And so he wants to protect Natsume, just like how Natsume's concerned for Notori. And Natsume's like, no, I got this. He's like, no, I'm fine. We'll be able to do this. And he's like, Jinbei, just get inside the circle. It's his last wish for you. And the fact that Takuma has to just sit there and hear them like corral the yokai away from him to free them would be heartbreaking. Of course, Jinro chooses to stay. He can't see or hear your voice. And the way Natsume releases just the binds, and he does it in such a soft, beautifully spoken voice, just absolutely crushed me. Absolutely. So yeah. And then he sees the memories of them, like the last times they saw him. Oh, and the fact that he smiled when he looks at them. Oh, my heart. So yeah. So 2 of them said they'd be sad if they couldn't hear or talk to me. So I've been told they've left, but the one stayed behind. And Notori's like, he always does the craziest things. What should I do? And I feel like Takuma's like, pot calling the kettle black. You've always done the craziest things too. What do you think you should do? He's like, I'm not one to tell you that. I couldn't say. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, you 2 fools, you bakas. But you've changed a little too, huh? And he's like, have I? He's like, I don't know about that. No, he has. Notori has changed. I just wish Notori would recognize and be more aware that he's changed. But yeah. So I really liked getting to meet Tsukiko and Takuma. I hope it's not the last we see of them. I hope we get to see them more because I really like their characters a lot. I was really afraid in this episode Takuma was going to die. I was like, no, not yet. No, we don't need him to die yet. No. But I guess we'll see. And then, of course, when he puts the glasses away, I know it's a sign of him moving on and accepting that he's not an exorcist anymore and he's not going to see the familiars. But I was like, oh, that feels like such a death flag. I'm like, I don't want him to die yet. No. But I do want to see Tsukiko in the future more. She was a cool character. But yeah, then these two walk together. If you're ever in trouble, you can always give me a call. We can help each other out, huh? And he's like, you too, Notori-san. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you promise you'll help me if I call? Oh, I felt so good. And then the moment he walked away and the familiars appeared again and the gecko left and he pulled the glasses out and got back into exorcist mode, he asked Urihime to investigate what he's carrying, which worries me because I think if he asked Hiragi, Hiragi would be able to lie. But he asked Urihime to find out what it was. And Hiragi looked as he said that. So I'm like, does Hiragi know? Does she know? Is she going to stop Urihime? He's like, according to Jinro, it's so dangerous mere exorcists can't be allowed to find out what it is. Perhaps it's something that gentle, reckless Natsume can't be allowed to possess. I don't like Natori. I know that Natsume can be reckless and that he is gentle, but I'm like, if it's so dangerous, exorcists shouldn't have it. I'm like, I hope that what this is just Natori wanting to find out what it is. And then once he figures the whole thing out and asks Natsume about it and Natsume explains it, I hope that Natori will let him keep it and keep it a secret. I hope that that's what he'll do. But I don't know if that's going to be the case. And I don't like where this is headed. I'm like, show. I hope you're baiting us. I hope it's a red herring. Don't be crazy. And I talked for an hour about this episode set. But that is to be expected because this episode set was amazing. I loved this episode set. My favorite episodes of season 6 so far, for sure. 100%. This series just gets me. It just does it. It's so damn good. Anyway, I'm very excited to hear your thoughts down below about what you all thought with this episode set because it was fantastic. So, with that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more of Natsume's Book of Friends. Bye!